Hello everyone and welcome to Tuesday's Reading Skills. So today we are going to be reading the next chapter, okay? And in order to do that, I'm just going to show you a few bits of vocabulary first, okay? Now, these are words which are going to come up in this chapter, and just in case you don't know what they mean, we're going to go over them first. So those words are souvenir, clutching, and bandit. So pause the screen now and have a go at thinking what those words mean. Okay then, souvenir. A souvenir is a thing that is kept as a reminder of something. So often when you go on holiday, you might go to the gift shop and buy something as a souvenir from your holiday. Clutching. Clutching is when you are holding something very tightly. Okay, you might clutch onto something if you don't want to drop it. And finally, bandit. And a bandit is a robber who is part of a gang. Okay, so we are going to be going through the next chapter today, okay, which is chapter 16. By all means, if you've got your copy of the book at home, you can read along. If not, read along with me on the screen. Once we've done that, it's just a tiny activity where you are going to be placing these statements into order. Okay. But let's have a read through and we'll talk about that afterwards. Quick, said Mr. Fox, hide. He and Badger and the smallest fox jumped up onto the shelf and crouched behind a row of big cider jars. Peering around the jars, they saw a huge woman coming down the cellar. At the foot of the steps, the woman paused, looking right and left. Then she turned and headed straight for the place where Mr. Fox and Badger and the smallest fox were hiding. She stopped right in front of them. The only thing between her and them was a row of cider jars. She was so close. Mr. Fox could hear the sound of her breathing. Peeping through the crack between two bottles, he noticed that she carried a big rolling pin in one hand. How many will you want this time, Mrs. Bean? The woman shouted. And from the top of the steps, the other voice called back, bring up 2 or 3 jars. He drank 4 yesterday, Mrs. Bean. I'll make this a little bit smaller for you, bigger for you, and I will move it as we go through. Yes, but he won't want many today because he's not going to be up there more than a few hours longer. He says that the fox is bound to make a run for it this morning. It can't possibly stay down that hole another day without food. The woman in the cellar reached out and lifted a jar of cider from the shelf. The jar she took was next but one to the jar behind which Mr. Fox was crouching. I'll be glad when the rotten brute is killed and strung up on the front porch, she called out. And by the way, Mrs. Bean, your husband promised I could have the tail as a souvenir. The tail's been all shot to pieces, said the woman's voice from upstairs. Didn't you know that? You mean it's ruined? Of course it's ruined. They shot the tail but missed the fox. Oh, heck, said the big woman. I did so want that tail. You can have the head instead, Mabel. You can get it stuffed and hang it on your bedroom wall. Hurry up now with that cider. Yes, ma'am, I'm coming, said the big woman. She took a second jar from the shelf. If she takes one more, she'll see us, thought Mr. Fox. He could feel the smallest fox's body pressed tightly against him, quivering with excitement. Will 2 be enough, Mrs. Bean, or shall I take 3? My goodness, Mabel, I don't care so long as you get a move on. Then 2 it is, said the huge woman, speaking to herself now, who drinks too much anyway. Carrying a jar in each hand and with the rolling pin tucked under one arm, she walked away across the cellar. At the foot of the step, she paused and looked around, sniffing the air. There are rats down here again, Mrs. Bean. I can smell 'em. Then poison them, woman, poison them. You know where the poison's kept. Yes, ma'am, Mabel said. She climbed slowly out of sight up the steps. The door slammed. Quick, said Mr. Fox, grab a jar each and run for it. Rat stood on his high shelf and shrieked, what did I tell you? You nearly nabbed, didn't you? You nearly got nabbed, didn't you? You nearly gave the game away. You keep out of here from now on. I don't want you around. This is my place. You, said Mr. Fox, are going to be poisoned. Poppycock, said Rat. I sit up here and watch her putting the stuff down. She'll never get me. Mr. Fox and Badger and the smallest fox ran across the cellar, clutching a gallon jar each. Goodbye, Rat, they called out as they disappeared through the hole in the wall. Thanks for the lovely cider. Thieves, shrieked Rat. Robbers, bandits, burglars. Okay, so that was chapter 16. So as I said a little while ago then, what I'd like for you to do now is have a little look at these statements. Now these relate to the whole story so far, and just sequence them, so put them into order of what has happened so far. Now I'm not expecting you to sit and write these out because as you can see, I've put an A, B, C, D, E, F, G at the beginning of them, okay? And each of those letters represents that statement. I'll just go through them all. They dig and dig to try and catch him. The farmers get angry. The foxes live together under a tree. Mr. Fox steals chickens from 3 farmers. They come up with a plan. Mr. Fox goes with Badger one last time to steal food. Mr. Fox's tail is blown off. Okay, so what you'd need to do then is have a little look through those and decide which one you think comes first in our story. Okay, so I'll just get you started. So the first one then would be that they live together under a tree. So the first thing you need to write is C. Okay, then you need to have a look through and think, okay, what comes next? Okay, so then you could put the next letter and so on until you have got all 7 of those. Okay, just put 7 of your letters in the correct order. Okay, now I will see you tomorrow, and tomorrow is a fluency. I told a fib yesterday and said that today was a fluency day, but it wasn't because we were doing sequencing. Tomorrow is a fluency day where we'll be looking at chapter 17, so just be reading tomorrow. Okay, I look forward to seeing you then. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you later. Bye, everyone.